Good afternoon and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Jerry Cook, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. With the music, no doubt.
That was meant to dramatize the moment,
Yes,
Barbara.
yes, it was. And our first guest this morning is Sondra Wollenman from Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. Before we talk with Sondra, Jerry, you had something you wanted to share.
This is not my normal gig on the senior hour. I'm not quite a senior yet. However, I did have a little brush with what it means to be a senior yesterday while getting coffee at McDonald's.
Oh,
And so I went to go get coffee yesterday, and when they put the little thing up, how much I was going to pay up on the screen, it says one senior coffee, 99 cents.
one
And
senior coffee?
One senior coffee. Now, all I did was order a cup of coffee, black. And all I saw was one senior coffee. I thought maybe that was a blip. Maybe they made a mistake. I'm sure they're going to correct it when I get to the window, and it's going to be $2.99 plus tax. I get there, and this young lady says, "Sir, that'll be a $1.10." And I thought to myself, I guess she thinks I'm a senior. So at 48, I officially was able to get a senior coffee at McDonald's yesterday. And then ironically today, I'm substituting for Dr. Palucky, aren't I lucky, on the senior hour.
I love it. That's a terrific story.
Yes.
It really is, old man. Did you hear me?
I did hear you. Yeah, you call me old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And you didn't respond.
Well, that's because I can't hear. I'm old.
No, you're older.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You're not old.
Let's
you're
talk to
older.
our guest here, Sondra.
Yes.
Sondra, I like to say that present conversations are future realities. And nobody wants to talk about hospice care. No one wants to talk about palliative care.
Right.
Let's first of all make that distinction for our listeners if they don't already know the differences between palliative care and hospice care.
Sure. So my name's Sondra, and I'm a nurse practitioner, and I work at Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, and I work in the area of palliative care in the hospital. So this is the most common question we get every single day, and it's a great question because a lot of people don't know, or a lot of people are simply misinformed. So palliative care is when a person has a serious or chronic illness and they could really use an extra layer of support. When someone's on palliative care, they could be, have an illness like heart failure, kidney failure, they could have an illness like cancer, they could have gotten into a serious car accident and be dealing with, really serious injuries and need to make decisions about their care that will affect their life. So any serious illness, but the goal when someone is receiving palliative care is normally for curative treatments. But we come on and we help patients and families by educating them about their illnesses and educating them on different options for their care, and then helping them make those decisions based on who they are as a person. So really palliative care could be at any stage of illness, at any age of a person, whereas hospice care is when the goal changes to just end-of-life care, symptom management as the primary goal.
So in reality, if someone is undergoing palliative care, that doesn't necessarily mean imminent death is
Correct.
around the corner.
Correct. It could be at the diagnosis of cancer. We get a lot of patients that are newly diagnosed with, let's say, pancreatic cancer, that we know a person's going to undergo a lot of symptoms, The cancer is going to be aggressive. The prognosis may not be great. So sometimes we get consulted right at the diagnosis when we know that they're doing well, they're going to get treatment. The goal is to, undergo cancer treatments, but they're going to be dealing with a lot. So we want to be there to support them.
Yeah, that's
It's interesting because when my husband was put in the hospital,
Yeah.
he had COPD and pneumonia,
Yeah.
and the doctor put him in the hospital.
Mhm.
And after, maybe a week or two there, they said, we plan to put him in a nursing home
Right.
where he could be taken care of medically also.
Mhm.
And that was one thing Russ always said,
Right.
do not put me in a home. Never. And because I had 24/7 care for him at home,
Right.
but that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And so I had to put him in the hospital.
Mhm.
And he said no, he never wanted to go in there. And then as he got worse, he had palliative care.
Mhm.
And
Right.
and then it went into hospice care
Mhm.
because he was in there for 5 weeks, which is, the hospital tried to get us out
Right.
because 2 weeks, I think, is the ultimate, isn't it? To stay in the
Yeah,
hospital.
depending, but yeah, they around
Yeah.
that time they might try to start talking about discharge
Yeah,
planning.
and I said absolutely not. He's not going to a nursing
Yeah.
home. I can't take care of him at home. He needs medical help here, and we're staying here.
Mhm.
And I had to talk with the then whatever he was,
Right.
the high mucky muck at Henry Mayo, and
Yeah.
it was quite a long conversation.
Mhm.
And he finally said yes.
That's good.
So, but
Was his official title Mucky Muck? I just want to know if was that his title?
I don't
Does
know.
the
I
Mucky
don't
Muck get more
remember.
money than I do? He probably does.
Oh yes,
All of
I'm
us.
sure he does.
If you're just joining us today on the Senior Hour, this is not Dr. Thomas Plucky. This is Pastor Jerry Cook sitting in for Dr. Thomas Plucky. We're talking to Nurse Sondra Wollenman with Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, and we're talking about the distinctions between palliative care and hospice care. Now, so hospice care, for our listeners this afternoon, that would be someone who is going to imminently die within 24 hours to 48 hours.
Well, no. So hospice care is really when the goal shifts from any curative treatments, either those treatments aren't available or the person is not offered those treatments anymore. So now the goal shifts to just symptom management, comfort focused care, that type of thing. But in order to enroll on hospice care, you have to have a diagnosis with a prognosis of 6 months or less. So you have to have a disease that you're going to pass from in about 6 months.
Gotcha.
That's the specific criteria. So it's interesting. I mean, depending on what's going on, people could live quite a while on hospice because at the 6-month mark, you would be reevaluated by a physician to see if that diagnosis still qualifies you for hospice and potentially could, receive another 6 months on hospice care. So depending on what's going on with you medically, you could, thrive and live a pretty good quality of life on hospice. However, most people that enroll on hospice, it is like a few weeks or so.
Most people don't want to go to the doctor. Let's just be honest. Even a routine checkup can be nerve-wracking for some people.
Oh, yes.
A dentist visit can be
Oh, tell me about
ridiculous,
it.
right?
I just
I
went
don't
to
like
a
the
d- I just went to a dentist.
Ow,
I
that's a
have,
cavity.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
there's
So
more than that.
what I want you to explain to our listeners, Sondra, is what kind of mentality do you bring into this nursing practitioner that you're in,
Yeah.
where you are dealing with people who are going to die? I mean, we're all technically going
to die, absolutely.
but we're
yes.
talking about people that are at the precipice of death, much
Right.
closer than others.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where's your balance?
Yeah.
What higher power?
Yeah.
Where does Sondra get the strength she needs to deal with this on a daily basis?
Yeah. I think it's definitely a certain type of person that does the work that we do. And I think it's a type of person that is able to sit with people, is able to like read the room, feel other people's emotions, and then like meet people where they're at. So that's what I really try to do. Our area of medicine is really about communication and, relationship with other people. So what I always try to do is meet people where they're at, feel the room, feel what's going on, and simply have conversation with people based on what they're able to hear in that moment. I'm always trying to be honest with people, but in a very kind way, which can be a hard balance to strike. But
Whoa,
yeah,
I would think so. Very hard to do.
but I believe it's not kind and it's not the right thing to like sugarcoat things or, you know, present things that aren't true. I think it's important to be honest, but also
Absolutely.
in a kind way.
Absolutely.
Sondra sounds like a preacher.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I try not to sugarcoat
Yeah,
it and tell them
yeah.
the truth
Yeah.
in a
Yes, but
somewhat kind way.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
true, but
Yeah.
she's dealing with
Yeah.
people who are getting ready to leave this earth.
Yeah.
And family members and friends and
Yeah.
relationships.
It's
are so
complicated.
it's so important.
It's complex.
It
Yeah.
really is.
You
And
know,
have
Sondra,
to-
if I can bring this up, because you'd mentioned your husband having to go through palliative care as well as hospice care. I finally understood the distinction between these two things
Oh,
when
yay.
my father
Yeah.
died of cancer back in 2019.
Mm.
And it was quick. He was
Yeah.
diagnosed in October. By February of the next year, he had passed.
Mm.
And he'd been in the hospital for, I don't know, 5 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yes.
it was very clear that he was at fourth stage and it wasn't
Yeah.
going to happen. But his desire was to come back home.
Right.
And they offered palliative care.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I had never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was basically hospice care, but kind of sugar-coated phrasing, if you will,
Mm-hmm. Right.
to make it seem more, swallowable for us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I understood what it meant then, and so now I appreciate the conversation because obviously,
Yeah.
at some point, as I just mentioned at the beginning of the show,
Yeah.
our present conversations end up being our future realities.
Right.
And, it's very possible I might have to undergo this as well.
Well, that's true. And the other thing with Russ, he had to have one of those tall things that drip
Oh, yeah.
something, whatever it was.
The
It was
IV
medication
pole.
of something. And I couldn't do that at home.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
And so he chose to stay in the hospital.
Yeah.
And that was probably the best place for him because
Right.
he was well taken care of.
I'm glad.
He really was.
Yeah.
He really was. Even though I did have a strange conversation with the high guy there.
Yeah, the mucky muck. Yes.
I didn't say it.
Did our
you
screen
did.
go out, Jen? It did, yeah. I just want to make sure everyone knows it's a senior hour because obviously I'm still not a senior. However,
You will be one of these
I
days.
will one of these days.
Yeah.
I'll give
yeah.
you a few of my years. If
Well,
you want some.
you know
Yeah.
what? We can talk
Yeah.
about that off air. I'm sure that'll be a lot of great conversation. Sondra, tell our
Yeah.
listeners how long you've been connected with Providence Holy Cross Medical Center.
Sure. So it'll be 6 years in September. So I was actually an oncology nurse before this, and then I went back to school to become a nurse practitioner. And then when I graduated, I started working at Providence Holy Cross. So
And,
So-
at what age did you say to yourself, I want to be in the medical profession?
it was actually after I have 2 bachelor's degrees. So it was after my first bachelor's degree. I thought
I'm
originally.
sitting next to a mucky muck.
No.
She's got all these
Hi.
degrees. Yeah, I'm
A
sorry.
high mushroom.
I thought at first I wanted to be a therapist, and then I realized that was a little bit too much for me. So then I kind of made my way into nursing. So it was around like 23, and then I went back to school to become a nurse, and then after that, a nurse practitioner.
So how much education does it take to become a nurse practitioner?
Yeah. So you become an RN, which is a bachelor's degree, a registered nurse.
Registered nurse.
And that takes like 4 to 5 years about
Good
to
heavens.
get a bachelor's degree.
What were you, 10 years old when you went to college?
And then you go back to get your master's degree, and that takes about 2 to 3 years.
Good heavens. So you're 7 years after getting out of college.
Yeah, well, the big responsibility.
Well, I was going to
Heavens,
say,
that's
Yeah.
a lot.
we want
of
someone
education.
smart to take care of us
Yeah,
Well,
in
that's
either
true.
our present health or in our declining health.
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's very important.
And would you say that that is adequate in terms of education, or do you think Oh, maybe 10 years.
I think it's pretty adequate, but I also think it depends on the program that you go to. For anyone that's an RN out there that's thinking about going to become a nurse practitioner, I would encourage you to really look into that program that you're going to be educated by, because they can have different levels of competency and their clinicals that they send you to and things like that. I went to UCLA, so it's like a very good, well-established program, and I think they do a pretty good job matching you up with preceptors and educating you. So,
Does the job that you're in cause your heart to harden towards issues of death
yeah,
and the demise of the human body?
yeah,
Does it get you, I guess callous would be the wrong word, but I guess
Yeah.
that's the word I'm looking at right
yeah,
now. Again, I guess this is a secondary follow-up to my
Yeah.
earlier question
Yeah.
about, what is your balance? How do you
Yeah.
process all
Yeah.
of that? Because obviously you're seeing death a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing sickness a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing
Yeah.
you would hope hopeful signs of progress
Right.
in the patient, and then you see the hopes on people's faces,
Yeah.
and then things just take a turn for the
Yeah,
worse.
for sure, for sure. I think every nurse or medical professional has a moment in their career where they're forced to find that balance. And I think if you ever become callous, or it ever doesn't affect you, then you really need to re-examine where you're at in your career, because our patients need us. They deserve for us to be there for them and not to be calloused and hardened. That's my opinion. Being an oncology nurse before this, it was tough. I definitely had those moments. I saw a lot of suffering and declining, a lot of people at their end of life, and there was a moment where I had to realize, I'm not God. It's not on me to bring them out of this situation or to make them better. It is on me to ease their way through this.
Mhm.
And it is on me to give of my whole heart to be there for them, to ease their journey that they're going through. But their journey is their journey. So that's how I kind of look at it now. I think, and that's why I love the area of medicine that I'm in, because it's very open and honest. It's just educating people where they're at, what's going on with them medically, who are you, and what do you want for your life, and I'll help you and I'll advocate for you to get that. So that's kind of how I look at it. And sometimes it's very hard. I mean, some cases hit you more than others, and you go home and you're just drained. And in those moments, you just have to, or for me at least, you have to have a good home life, stable people in your life, good support system, a good faith, and just knowing that, well, in my opinion, like God's got it, we don't type of thing. So that's kind of how I deal with it. And, I love what I do. I love it so much. I think it's a privilege to be in this space that's so sacred. That's so important, that a lot of people are too scared to be in, or they run away. I personally think it's a privilege to be there with these families.
Yeah,
and
and
people.
it's a profession where you're open yourself,
Yeah,
and you've gone through things in your life, and you can relate to what's going on in their other people's lives, whether it's the patient who's on final care, or it's the family members that are around that person. So, and that takes a very special person to do that kind of work, and I really commend you for doing
Oh,
that.
thank you.
I think
No
it's
problem.
wow.
No problem.
I don't know that I could do that, although I ran a community hotline up here for many
Yeah.
years,
Nice.
and really enjoyed talking to people and listening
Cool.
to what they have to say.
Mhm.
And it really helped me grow as a person, hearing others. And I go to the senior center, to the grief group there every Tuesday morning. And there are 18 of us in there,
Oh.
and some on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
we all
great.
go around the table and tell everybody there what happened to us during the week. Some of it is good, some of it is mixed, some of it's bad. but we're there to support each other.
Yeah.
And that's what's
Right.
so nice about that group.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Oh, I've missed one, and it just threw me out.
Aw, yeah.
Take us out on our break there, Barbara.
Yes, you're listening to the Senior Hour on your hometown station, KHTS, AM 1220, FM 98.1. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Jerry Cook, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And we're speaking with Sondra Wollenman from Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. This has been a very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Don't you think, Jerry?
You know, so much so that I think it's probably important that we bring up something that no one really thinks about, and that is advance directives
Right.
Yes.
and trusts and medical preparation for the future
yes.
and getting that written out. So speak to us, Sondra, a little bit about the importance of a medical directive
Yeah.
and why people need to think about it when they're healthy
Correct.
and not when they're,
Yes.
1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in the banana peel.
Right, for sure.
Yes. And
So,
that's when it
yeah.
gets much more expensive.
Right,
Oh.
exactly, exactly. So, preparing an advance directive is so important for yourself, but it's also so important for your family because you don't want to put your family in a position where now you're critically ill and you can't speak for yourself, and now your family has to speak for you, and they have no clue what you would want in this situation. So it's really a kindness for you, but it's also a kindness for your family. And the best
yes.
time to do it is now, which is when you're healthy, things aren't, stressful, you're not in the hospital with a million things going on, emotions are through the roof. So very important to either get an advance directive, or you could do it as a part of your, will or living trust, where you specify who you would want your decision makers to be in the event that you can't speak for yourself, and you also designate some of your wishes around medical care, end of life care, that type of thing. You could really put anything you want in the advance directive that are your wishes, and then also very important to discuss these wishes with your medical decision makers.
Sondra, do you mind if I ask Barbara a question and pretend that you're not here for a quick moment?
Sure.
So did you put in your trust or your advance directive that you want me to do your funeral?
No, I didn't.
Well, you need to write that in and put that in black Sharpie. Make sure.
Make a mess.
Yes,
of my
I
trust?
need to make sure that you know that I will be doing your funeral.
Well, I know that.
Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure you know that. I just
Didn't-
want to know
I
that.
told you that, didn't I?
You did, but
Or
I'm
I
not planning on
asked
doing
you
it
to
for a
do
long
it.
time.
No, I know.
Does Sondra feel
No,
like a
I-
third wheel right now?
No, I mean, I'm healthy for my age.
You are.
You
I've
are.
beaten
yeah.
cancer twice, and I told my kids I beat it when I was 75, I beat it when I was 85, and I'll beat it when I'm 95.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the problem.
You're like a Michael Jackson song, aren't you? You're just beating it all the time.
And I think that's the issue a lot of the times is that people live so well for so long that they don't think that anything could happen, but literally anything could happen at any time. So it's
Oh,
just
absolutely.
important to
Anything
prepare.
can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be hit by a car.
Right, right.
That was the problem with Russ.
Mm.
We were smashed. I was smashed in the side of my car.
Oh.
And I think he was a 76-year-old man ran a red light.
Mm.
And I was in the middle of the intersection, and he came right smack into my driver's door. And Russ was the one who got injured more than I did because he was thrown around and back and forth and hurt his back, hurt his whole body. It was really the beginning of his demise. It
Yeah.
really was.
Oh.
And eventually I had to get, well, fortunately I did have long-term care insurance.
Right.
Whoa, which I encourage everyone to get.
Mm-hmm.
I really do, because it really paid off when Russ was at home. So I couldn't take care of him,
Right.
you know, it was too hard. So I started off having someone come in at 10 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. But then he got so much worse that I had to go full time. So I did it 24/7. But it was the best thing I ever did. I really did. And I did it against his wishes. He did not want me to get long-term care insurance, but I got it anyway.
Oh, good.
And I finally told him, and he said to me, he said, "I'm so glad you got that long-term care insurance."
Every once in a while, the wife can get it right.
Yes, every once in a while. Well, that was one thing that really bothered me because my parents didn't have it. So many of my
Right.
friends didn't have it, and they were paying through the roof
Right.
for people to come in and take care of them.
The problem, though, and not necessarily the problem for you and Russ, Barbara, but the problem, though, Sondra, is someone 25, 26, 27 years old, you know, they're built like a brick house and they feel good, and they're not thinking of
No.
the future. They're not thinking of
That isn't even in the horizon.
Exactly. And it seems like now that I'm in my 40s and about to approach the top of the heap at 50, I'm starting to think more about the end of life. And not that I'm concerned about what happens beyond. What I'm concerned about is, am I going to leave all the planning, all the plotting, all the scheming, all the financial obligations to a bunch of people that don't know my wishes?
Right.
And so in many ways, it's actually more fair to think about this thing in your healthy days,
It
in your
is.
youth, than to put this off at
Right.
a very long, or put it off to the point where you don't even do it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so glad I
Yeah.
did it because it paid
For sure.
67% of what it cost to take care of Russ 24/7. And that is a big chunk of
Yeah.
money.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I mean, I didn't want to go into our investments and that kind of thing, you know.
Right.
I had
Considering both of you were oil barons, mucky mucks, if you
Mucky
will.
mucks.
Exactly.
That's British.
British, yes.
That's British.
Sondra, I want to talk a little bit about your husband. And you got married 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, is it a normal thing for a nurse or somebody in the medical profession to get married later, or is it a normative thing for them to get married early?
Yeah.
In your case, you got married a little bit later.
I did.
Is that the average within the medical profession, or do you think the majority of the people are already married? Or
I would say it's kind of a mix, I would say, but I would think that a lot of people, at least in kind of like my generation, I just turned 39, we got married a little bit older. Maybe, I'm not sure why, but I always really wanted to, for myself at least, make sure that I was educated and had a career and things like that. So, and I was old enough and mature enough to really, you know, give to such a serious relationship as a marriage. So that's why I kind of just waited and made sure that I chose the right person, because I really just wanted to, you know, get married once and make sure that it was the right person for life.
and this was a person that you spoke off air. You'd met at a wedding. It wasn't
Yeah.
like RussianBabe.com or something like
Correct.
that, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Because you don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just weird. I find it odd today. Like your generation, Barbara, my generation, our generation, we went out on dates, right?
Yes.
And we met people face to face. Today, people get online and
I know,
Right.
that
and
is-
it's the
that-
weirdest thing.
It's a
That
different thing,
I
yeah.
do not understand that at all.
Mhm.
How can you get to know someone
Mhm.
when you're looking at their face to face on Zoom and just chatting?
I don't
mean,
know, but the AI of me looks great.
Can you believe
That's
this?
funny.
Can you believe this?
That's funny.
I tell you.
man.
And I'm the one who designed him.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what I want to look like. So,
There you go.
so Sondra,
Yeah.
fill us in on the process of doing an advance directive,
Sure.
and where would we go?
Yeah.
How would we begin that process?
Right, yeah, it's very easy. You could get the paperwork either from your physician, or you could go online and just print out an advance directive online. Providence Holy Cross has our an advance directive link on our website as well. You print one out for California, and then it's easy. You just go through it and you fill it out. At the end, You either have two witnesses sign that aren't one of your decision makers, or you can get a notary to notarize it. And then once you're all done with it, you just bring it to your physician so they could scan it into your medical record, so that your physicians and healthcare providers have a copy of your wishes.
Is there a cost involved in that?
Only the cost of the notary if you choose to go that way, but that's why they said you could do two witnesses, so it wouldn't even cost anything.
I probably need to get going on this, Barbara. Why am I even hosting this show right now? I need to go get this done now.
Because you're alive and kicking.
I am, but I realize at some point I'm not going to be too much alive and not too much kicking either. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get this done.
Right.
I have to say that I have not done this. And as I said earlier, 48 years old, going to be 49.
Yeah.
I probably should get this done.
Yeah.
Jiminy
and some other
Christmas,
things.
I'm almost twice your age.
You are, but you look greater than I
Whoa.
do. But my AI me looks better. So, but regardless of that,
Your what looks better?
the AI, the artificial intelligence version of me.
Oh, well,
Don't we all have an AI look? I mean, come on. Let's be honest.
whatever that means.
I'm just telling you, it's artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. I don't even know what artificial intelligence is.
It's what I'm bringing
It's
to the
exactly
co-host
what's
part
part-
of this today. Anyway, so
AI.
regardless of that, I think for people out there that are listening,
Yeah.
I think it's incumbent upon them to take it from me. They need to get going on this.
Yeah, and then you do it, and then, you discuss it with your loved ones, and then that's it. You put it in a place where you know where it is. You've given it to your doctor, and you don't need to, you can have the conversation again if years go by and your wishes change. But it's not something, it's a hard conversation to have for some people, but it's an important conversation, and, once you've done it, you're good.
Oh, I think it's also very important to consider getting long-term care insurance.
Right.
I think that's very important because it will really save money on the end of the line, because having someone come in 24/7 and take care of somebody, it's very, very expensive.
Right.
Very. It really is.
Speaking to Sondra Wollenman with the Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, Sondra, walk through the process of making the decision about Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. How did you find yourself to be an RN there?
Yeah.
As opposed to, up here in Santa Cruz at Henry Mayo, or maybe down in LA proper.
Right.
What is the decision-making process to choose the particular hospital that you want to serve at?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was, I live in Thousand Oaks, so I didn't know much about Providence Holy Cross.
That's where the mucky mucks live. They're in Thousand Oaks. And there's a lot of mucky mucks in Thousand Oaks. You guys drive Bentleys and BMWs.
Oh, we do?
And I drove in a Prius, but go ahead.
So when I graduated with my master's as a nurse practitioner, I got a pretty general degree. My degree is in acute care of adults or geriatrics. So I could really work in the hospital or outside of the hospital in the adult population. So, the doors were kind of open to wherever I wanted to go. I came from an oncology background, so I did a rotation in nursing school in palliative care, and I was really enjoyed it a lot. So I was looking in oncology and in palliative care, and then I was able to get a few interviews at a few places, and I really liked Providence Holy Cross when I went to interview. I liked the culture. It felt like, kind of a family atmosphere. I liked being able to care for, all types of people, and the mission behind Providence Holy Cross is, a really beautiful mission to serve as Jesus served. And so I just liked the whole culture around the hospital and who we served, the people that worked there. And then the most important thing, I think, as an NP is to make sure that your supervising physician is someone that you get along with, someone that that's going to support you as a nurse practitioner and mentor you, but also allow you to be independent. So I really, liked the physician as well. So I think that was kind of the big things that I thought when I was making that decision.
Now, your family, are they in the medical profession?
Yeah.
They are?
My mom's a nurse practitioner, and I have a sister that's a nurse practitioner too.
Ah.
And then, so a lot of nurses, and then the rest of them are teachers.
Oh, and what about your
Yeah.
husband? Is he in the medical field?
He works in the insurance industry.
Ah,
Yeah, so
okay.
kind of.
Hand
but-
in glove. Interesting.
So
Interesting.
he kind of gets it, but he's not like a physician or a nurse or anything.
So, do we need to take a break? Yes, let's do that, shall we?
Oh, I have no choice.
You have no choice.
If you would, no, this is all predetermined by Barbara Cochran. If we're going to go to a break, we're going to a break.
Yes, we are going to have a break. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Jerry Cook, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Jerry Cook, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Sondra Wollenman from Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. So good to have you. We've had a wonderful conversation here.
Thank
You've
you.
given a lot of very, very valuable information,
Oh, thank you.
especially
that is-
especially for you,
Oh, especially for me. I feel chastised.
because you're getting older.
I'm getting older. I got a senior coffee for $1.10 at McDonald's.
I can't believe that.
Well,
That
I'm just
is
telling you the
funny.
truth, and I feel a little chastised. And what's interesting is just the other day I was thinking about things like this, and then here I am
Yeah,
on the senior hour,
right.
although I'm not a senior,
Mm-hmm.
and you're telling me to get this stuff done. And I'm sure that there are people out there in our listening audience that are probably saying to themselves, "Yeah, I probably should get it done too."
Oh yeah,
And so I think-
I'm almost 49. Maybe I better think about doing that.
Uh,
See, I'm
yes.
almost 89.
And you look lovely.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I was fishing for a compliment back.
On your back?
Oh, there we go. All right, there we go. Sondra, is there anything else our listeners need to know about palliative care, about hospice care, about any kind of medical things directives that they need to figure out?
Sure.
Is there anything that we've left out of this
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
that you can kind of wrap it up for us?
Sure, sure. I think the most important thing, like we talked about, is doing the advance directive and planning for your future. And I think another thing I want to say is if you ever meet us in your hospital room or your physician recommends palliative care getting involved, we're not scary. We're really nice people. We're really just there to support you through what you're going through and really take it from you, take your lead, and just advocate for you and be there for you. So don't be afraid if palliative care comes in and you meet us. We're really just there to support you. We're not hospice. We don't have any type of agenda. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
How do you
Yes.
deal with people who come in angry
Yeah.
or aggressive
Yeah.
or annoyed
Yeah. Yeah.
at the medical, maybe their medical insurance, but they're going to take it out on you?
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
the medical insurance has said something or they've
Yeah.
not said something. How do you kind of try to
Yeah.
bring them back down to reality and
Yeah.
calm their little spirits down?
That would
So-
be very hard to do,
Yeah.
I would think.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Oh,
Well, the
wow.
way I
think Sondra knows how to do this.
Yes.
I mean, we do. The thing I love about my job.
I would just say shut up.
the thing I love about my job is there's never a dull moment. You can have the exact same two patients with the exact same illness and the exact same age and progression, but they both need two different things. So when I introduce myself to someone, I really just say, I'm Sondra, I'm a nurse practitioner, I'm here with palliative care. How are you doing and how can I help you? And sometimes people, and I just receive whatever they say back to me. And sometimes people just need to vent and they need someone to hear them. In all honesty,
Yes.
they need to get it off their chest. And if there's something going on that they're mad about, I want to get through that before we can get to like the meat and potatoes of what's going on, because that's going to be blocking them, from really getting to what's going on. So
From opening up.
right. So I
And
let
that's
people
important.
Yeah, exactly. So I let
Really.
people say whatever they need to say. I listen. I try to find a solution if I can, or direct them to the person that they need to be directed to. But most of the time, in all honesty, people just want someone to listen to them. And a lot of times people do not feel listened to in medicine. Unfortunately. So if they need someone to listen to them, if they need someone to vent to, as long as it's not, aggressive or violent, I'm there for them. So.
And the reason why I ask this is when my dad was alive, my dad
Yeah.
would always complain about high gas prices.
Sure.
But he wouldn't complain to the oil company.
How long ago was that?
Just a few
compared
years
to
ago.
now?
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Oh.
But he would always complain to the cashier.
Aw.
And I always used to tell my dad, I'm like, the cashier doesn't set the prices. The cashier's just
Right.
taking your money and
Yeah.
buying. You get your Snicker bar from her,
Right.
and so you're not necessarily the person that's setting all of the standards. You're just kind of
Correct.
implementing what is in place. And
Yeah.
so I think it's important for people to think about that because people
Sure.
get aggressive towards the end of life, and
Yeah.
and when their family members are at the end of life and they want the best for them,
Right.
and then they end up lashing out
Yeah.
when they probably shouldn't. And
Yeah.
then after it's all done, they come back to reality and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I was a jerk.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so many emotions involved, and I just realized that it's not about me. It's really just a really emotional period in their life, and I just let it roll off my
Well,
back.
if you are ever in end of life situation you want to be taken care of by someone like Sondra Wollenman
Oh,
from Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. Sondra, it was our pleasure to have you on today.
Absolutely.
thank you. So nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
even though I'm not the regular guy on here,
No, it's
Why
been
I'm
fun.
sure
not?
you've had a wonderful time.
I have. Thank you.
You
It's been
need to.
fun.
You need to be a regular guy here.
Well, I'm trying to be a regular guy. My wife has been trying to do that for 25 years.
No, I
but,
mean on the radio.
I
show.
know, but hey, by the way, those of you that are in the listening audience, if you like me on, maybe you should comment in the comment section, right? If
For
you're on
sure.
the Facebook feed, comment, say, hey, Pastor Cook, we'd love to have you on the senior hour, even though you're not a senior, although McDonald's thinks you are.
McDonald's. I love it. Love it.
All
love
right,
it.
we're coming to a crescendo here. You are listening to the senior hour. This is semi-co-host, Pastor Jerry Cook, and of course, our lovely,
Co-host.
what is your name?
Oh, Barbara Cochran.
And lovely as ever.
Thank you, sir.
And it's our pleasure to have Sondra with us today. And of course,
Thank
we'll
you.
have you back.
Thank you.
You know
Yes.
why? I'm going to need palliative care. There's no doubt about it. You're listening to the Senior Hour. This is Pastor Cook saying thank you so much for listening. And of course, Barbara Cochran. And we will catch you next week, same bad time, same bad channel.